We keep the developments on the ground on what's happening with the national shutdown. We try and make sense of it with a political analyst to talk about the significance of the EFF protest. Sandile Swana joining us. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. It's a shutdown that essentially whipped a state of fear and panic within the country. Looking at what we're seeing and what's been reported, what do you make of the significance of this shutdown?
The significance of this shutdown is, first of all, in the world of ideas, what Gramsci called hegemony, what we have been made to believe by the ruling class of South Africa. Some of the things that this shutdown challenges and actually has shattered is the notion that Cyril Ramaphosa is a suitable president of the Republic of South Africa. This shutdown has actually burst that bubble. It burst that bubble also at a time when some of the more senior journalists, such as Banim Tomboti, are actually publishing articles showing clearly that Cyril Ramaphosa is unsuitable to lead this country. Contrary to the beating about of the DA, where the DA passed a motion of no confidence on the cabinet and reserved Ramaphosa and spared him, as the business community has spared him for obscure reasons, because his incompetence and immorality has been demonstrated over the longer time. So in the world of ideas, this shutdown by the EFF, it's very important. It is also important because it begins to challenge the idea by the upper class that they can give us as the citizen anything. If they give you 4 hours of electricity because they say it's good for you, you must just accept it. So the ideas of saying anything that comes from the ANC and from Ramaphosa must be accepted without questioning has been blown into pieces by this shutdown.
And when it comes to some other views, I mean, there's been mixed reactions on this planned national shutdown. Some believe that it's been a waste of time. It won't change much. It won't result in President Cyril Ramaphosa resigning. But others have hailed it as a success in terms of the EFF's political strategy and messaging, almost bringing the country on high alert. I mean, look at law enforcement officials coming out in full force. That in itself, some have also said, is a win for the EFF.
Yes, you can look at this thing as a political strategist as well, which is, I suppose, your second point. On that issue, the EFF won before the 20th of March, because when they announced the march and the date was coming closer, the upper classes and the property owners began to shiver in their boots, and we've seen them mobilizing the largest army deployment since 1994. Some have said they last saw this type of deployment in 1985 during the state of emergency. So Cyril Ramaphosa and company, and the big part of this deployment of the military in particular, has been to protect the presidency of Cyril Ramaphosa, which is in jeopardy. I think they had a sense that if they do not deploy these soldiers and show maximum force, by sunset today, Cyril Ramaphosa would have run to Uganda in exile. The EFF would have deposed him.
And how much do you think the collective memory of the July 2021 unrest, how symbolic that was, and a show of incompetence when it comes to law enforcement? I mean, that in itself is still fresh in South Africans' minds, that has also triggered the fear of the worst. Do you think that it was perhaps a balance to show that there is capability, and also perhaps be ready, not be accused of being reactive, but really ensure that there is a plan should anything like July 2021 have erupted?
These two events are not entirely comparable. because my judgment of the July 2021 insurrection, as Cyril Ramaphosa called it was an insurrection, an attempt either to overthrow him or to show him that he can be overthrown by his own comrades in the African National Congress who have control of the intelligence, national security, and other resources from whom Konto says that they deployed quite competently on that day to show him that in the field of security is a lightweight. So they did that. That was an internal ANC battle. It was not saying anything much about the nation and its capability to manage its own affairs. It is a continuation of the failure of the ANC. So that was that. So till today, Ramaphosa said at some stage that the 12 ringleaders of that insurrection were identified, but till today they've not been arrested, they've not been prosecuted, their names are not known. This March, the shutdown by the EFF, the names of the people who were participating were well known, well advertised, advanced warning on the 29th of January, and continuous for 2 months of advanced warning and preparation by all parties concerned. So the issue that criminals could join these marches and conduct criminal activities, indeed the police had to prepare for that. The fact that the right wing, especially the racist right wing, and the criminal syndicates linked to the African National Congress could also plant agent provocateurs and cause chaos, that also had to be catered for. So the two marches are not the same. And let me also add that in 2018, women held a march with a much stronger name, which was called the Total Shutdown by Women, and they marched conducting that total shutdown. This one was just a national shutdown. That one was a total shutdown.
What I think is rather ironic, as this march and shutdown gets underway, people are told not to go to work and participate and join the EFF. On the other end, in the Pietermaritzburg High Court, we have Advocate Dalim Mpofu, who is earning a senior counsel salary. Business as usual for him. I mean, what should we make of that? How should that be interpreted?
You know, I read a letter, a publication from I think it's called the Road Freight Association, people who transport goods on the road with trucks, when they said that they've advised their members not to release their trucks to fill up the roads with the trucks full of goods because of the risks involved, which is correct. But they then said, but even within that, there are certain things that travel according to certain schedules, for instance, fuels and other things that impact on other things. So there was a common understanding that, yes, that road freight industry will shut down, but there are parts of it that must actually continue because of other factors that govern the danger of those chemicals that they are transporting and all sorts of other things. So when you are talking about the shutdown, you need to be aware of that. The courts may not, in fact, be recognizing the shutdown as an example. And don't go to court and say you are in a shutdown, and then your client loses the case, and so on and so forth. So a doctor who's supposed to operate a crucial surgery at 1 o'clock today, nobody who's got any common sense can say that doctor must not go and operate that particular patient.
Because some people have argued that this shutdown has destroyed a 4-day working week and that they've lost money on days, on a day that could have been business as normal. So it seems to be an imbalance on that side of things, as ordinary people who live from hand to mouth have lost out on a day's pay.
I think that, first of all, obviously all of us belong to different generations. We grew up with stayaways, whereby, which was quite one. We grew up with total consumer boycotts. We grew up with sanctions. Had those sanctions not been orchestrated by Oliver Tambo and the ANC, Thabo Mbeki and others, we wouldn't have the freedom that we have today. So there is, if you want a brighter future, you do need to sacrifice. And it is interesting also that one of the so-called champions of democracy in the world, the United States of America. It was their leading lights who fought and actually started a war, the American War of Independence. And so they could have all been hung by the Queen of England had they been caught. But they fought and got independence from America, from England, and so on and so forth. So freedom and prosperity does never come for free.
Yeah.
Even the younger generation must understand that the freedom that has been obscured since 1994, because you guys, the younger generation, has not received your freedom yet. You must still work for it because it has been squandered by Cyril Ramaphosa and this generation.
Very well. Thank you so much. Let's leave it there for now. Political analyst Sandile Swana helping us make sense of elements of the EFF's national shutdown. Now, earlier, the business sector criticized the EFF's national shutdown, arguing that the action comes at the worst economic time for the